study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerding Out on Neurodiversity, the podcast for all things neurodivergence. I'm Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist and professional speaker, and I'm happy to be your host through the wild trails of the neurodivergent world.
And I'm Jake Noonan, educational coach and humanities teacher, your co-host and producer, and I'm thrilled to help share the stories and the experiences of wonderful people in the world of neurodiversity.
We're really excited for today's guest, which we are going to say a lot because we're always really excited about every guest we get. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerding Out on Neurodiversity. I'm your host, Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist, professional speaker, podcast host, published author, wearer of many hats. And with me, as always, is my guy in the chair to my Spider-Man, Mr. Jake Noonan. Say hi, guy in the chair.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be the guy in the chair today.
You need a guy in the chair, man.
You always do. Always
Right?
do. It's great to be here. Super excited, as always, for our guest today.
Yeah, we need an elaborate, like, bro hug handshake, like Peter Parker and Ned do in Spider-Man. I think we should start working on that.
Let's do a virtual one.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh. But yes, also really excited for our guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Rebecca Engle, and I am a special education teacher, neurodiversity advocate, and neurodiversity speaker. And yeah.
Woo! So, you're just doing the Lord's work. So let's start with the special education teacher part. How did you get into that field? Because that is truly a work of art.
Sure. So I was a special education student from pre-K to fifth grade. I started in early childhood special education. I was nonverbal until the age of 4, partially nonverbal until the age of 5, and then educationally nonverbal until the age of 6. Yes, there's a difference. And doctors told my mom I would never be independent, speak, do any of that. By the end of fifth grade, I was only in speech therapy, and by middle school, I had no academic supports at all whatsoever, or no speech supports, and no IEP, no documentation to protect me. Because of that, I was abused consistently due to my disability. And so now I teach that 5th and 6th grade age group because those were the 2 years that were probably the most difficult in my education in terms of navigating the fact I had a disability.
And I mean, thank you for sort of sharing that so openly. And as much as I want to talk about the early intervention piece, because I think it's so important, you mentioned, I think, one of the elephants in the room in the special education world, which is the very high rates of abuse within special needs kids. So, you don't need to get into the super detailed, right? I mean, share whatever you feel like you need to share, but what are some of the warning flags here? Like, what are some of the things that parents of special needs kids need to look out for?
Yeah. So one of the things I'll say first is look out for ABA techniques in an educational setting. And what I mean by that is if you see the constant do what I say, here's your reward systems, if you see The child being told not to stim, to mask, to hide parts of their identity in order to conform to the educational setting, red flag. If there's restraint or any form of seclusion, if your child is being pushed into another room alone because they're stimming or pushed into another environment due to it without their peers around them, red flag. And then one thing I always tell people to look out for, and it's kind of a hot take, is positive behavioral intervention supports. They're labeled as positive. However, they're based off a 1930s theory. And if you know anything about human life, things have changed since 1930 in society. And so the fact that the federal government and all 50 state governments are still recommending a supports from the 1930s on both sides of the aisle is horrifying. However, the system pretty much says do what I say, work for a reward. It's the award systems you see in your schools, A honor roll, AB honor roll, perfect attendance. All of that stuff contributes to what we call positive behavioral intervention supports. Neurodivergent students tend to not be able to keep up with those. So I would look for ABA, meaning the behavioral applied behavioral analysis technique. So when we are trying to change the human being to conform or to pretend to be neurotypical, there are still ABA centers that use electric shock to actually remove stimming from children. This is still very real. And then PBIS, the positive behavioral intervention supports, where we are literally taking rewards and using it to control the child. I am working for first, then like first do your work and then I'll give you a break. They can't do their work unless they have that break, so give the child a break.
Mhm.
I hate those systems. Those are red flags, but sadly they're normalized throughout the whole entire system. And it's what the federal government and all 50 states in America recommend, no matter your party lines. And it horrifies me. Yeah.
Horrified is a pretty good word. And I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, one of my moments of professional shame really is that, my first job in the field was at an ABA clinic that, in the early 2010s, I mean, obviously there were autistic voices in particular saying like, this isn't working, stop doing it. But I feel like it's changed so much in the last 15 years. But even working there, and I promise you this isn't retconning, like even working there then, I was like, guys, this feels so like we're jamming square pegs into round holes here. Like this is a kid who can't do X, so we're going to punish them until they can do X. Like that's not how people learn. I think the problem with ABA and PBIS, and even, I mean, you could scale this all the way up to cognitive behavior therapy, is things that are easy to measure or things that come with data points that are measurable are easier to say, look, they're working. When I do like sort of traditional narrative-based interpersonal therapy with somebody, I mean, it's hard to say this is working, right? Because like the vibes are better, but Becca, can I get a T1 grant on vibes? I don't think so, right? And if I'm going to sell a program to a school, I can't say, hey, I promise you this works. Whereas the guy next to me is like, oh, PBIS program in this district decreased detentions by 37%. It's like, well, sure, what are you replacing that with, boss? Right? Like those are the questions that we're not asking. But, I think that these are the conversations the neurodivergent community have been having for a while, but hopefully we're centering them more. And I think that we're seeing, however slowly, a shift away from sort of this like corporatized behavior system to something like, let's meet the kids where they are. And that sounds to me like that's what you try to model in your professional role.
Yes, for sure. And one of the things that makes me laugh about the detention thing and ISS or whatever you want to call it is what is that teaching the child? Even your neurotypical students, what is that teaching?
Mm-hmm.
What is stopping like solitary confinement? Like what are we genuinely teaching by putting a child in detention or ISS? You're not changing the behavior because you're just locking a kid in a room. So
Yeah.
what is it teaching?
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And so Jake and I met when we worked at a school for neurodivergent learners.
Mm.
And I was the only doctor on staff. And I really held a hard line. I was like, I can't be part of the disciplinary committee. The kids need to see me as a safe person.
Yes.
Counselor. Like I have to be like, I was like, I will hold the professional boundaries. I will make sure I hold kids accountable, but I can't be the one who's giving ISSs because like, then the kids won't trust me. They won't talk to me.
Yep.
And there was this inherent tension, right, between the admin team and me, because it's like, guys, a kid who's in meltdown, who flipped a table, we're not going to punish that kid for flipping that table because they weren't in control of their body when they flipped that table. And consequences, pick up the table you flipped. I think that's reasonable.
Sure.
But there was always this like, they would be like, you want them to like you too much. I'm like,
well, yeah.
I mean, I do want them to like me, but it's also like, I think that you can have a well-regulated, structured learning environment that isn't driven by punishment.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This past year, I was 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for teaching. And my kids started sending other kids to me that weren't even my students just to talk to me. And, you know, it was funny. My room was right next door to the counselor's office, but our counselor was involved in ISS and punishment and all of that. But I felt like most of the time these kids came to me about their problems. And of course, sometimes I wasn't trained correctly to handle it. And so I did have to get the counselors involved or whatever. But, you know, I worked at a Title I school where a lot of my students were refugees and had a lot of trauma. And so locking them in a room in ISS for 8 hours, there was a certain point where I looked at 2 of my students that were in ISS while I was watching the ISS room. And that's just sitting there making sure nothing happens. I looked at them and they were like, Miss, and I was like, what? And they started asking me about their work. And then I told them, I was like, you know, I hate this. And like I openly told these 2 children that I hated ISS just because they were being great kids, you know, and they made a mistake and that's what life does, right? They were like, really? And I was like, what is this teaching you? And but the one little boy looked at me and he was like, what it's like in prison. Like, it's just sad. And this kid's 10, you know, like.
That's actually part of the reason why when I left that school, I felt comfortable. I knew the kids were in good hands because I knew they were gonna have a lot of trouble replacing me, but I also knew Jake was still going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Jake was that teacher that the kids could and would talk to about stuff that was, dare I say, Jake, not necessarily academic in nature.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All over the place.
You know, and that's a lot of burden to put on somebody who isn't necessarily trained for it, but like this work it's so much about who you are in addition to what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Kids can always tell authentic adults that get it, adults that want to get it. You know, whenever I give trainings in schools, it's always like, all right, where are my librarians? Where are my media specialists? Where are my theater teachers? And they're always like, I was like, how many times do kids come out to you? And they're like all the time. Like, how many times do kids just like have lunch in your office? They're like all the time. I'm like, because you're their safe people.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's not every special education teacher. There's a lot of people who get into that field because like someone will listen to me and I'm going to build a classroom where they must listen to me. But the right special education teacher changes everything for those kids, right?
Mm. Yeah, no. My room in the morning, I probably had about 55 kids. And my room was the size of an office because they didn't have an extra classroom. And so
they never do.
It was stuffed, like, you know, and then when I was leaving the school, kids would come and help me pack up my room, and the children would like find ways to be helpful to me in the morning, even though they could sit against a wall and talk. They wanted to contribute to my environment before the bell even rang. And having those relationships, I don't think people realize, it builds their learning too. Like the kids would write their "we will learn this today" statements on the board in the morning before the bell rang. So not only now am I going to read it when we actually do the lesson, but they're the ones writing it because they want to be of help.
And I think that what the research is increasingly showing us, and this is where education and mental health have parallel tracks, right? The more we empower kids for their mental health, the better they do. The more we empower kids in their education, the better they do. And that's why the old way of like teacher slash therapist as God is dying. And like the collaborative, like, let me join with you and help you do this is on the rise. And that makes me very hopeful for the future. But it's funny because you still have those old heads who are like, well, back in my day when the kids listened, and it's like, but they were listening for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I tell my teachers all the time, if you are doing right by these kids, they will listen to you because they want to.
Yep.
That's always, the teachers, and oddly enough, they often look like Jake, are nodding vigorously when I say that. I can always tell my teacher. I'm like, like usually have some sort of ironic T-shirt on. I'm like, yeah. So how does one take the journey from educator to advocate to speaker? Like, how did you raise your platform and your message out there?
So ironically enough, it was kind of all backwards and flipped around. I became an advocate, and then I became a speaker, and then I became a teacher. And so during my high school years, I failed almost every class. And I knew it was because of my disability, because I couldn't memorize the same and do things like that. And so despite not being on an IEP, I kind of just pushed through, did credit recovery until the day I could get out of there. So I did high school in 3 years so I could get out of there as fast as possible. And then I went to college and I joined a bunch of different organizations, including neurodiversity groups, and majored in special ed. But throughout college, I was kind of like advocating and doing things with Special Olympics. And then even my senior year of high school, I was learning how to teach, but I didn't plan on being a teacher. I wanted to go into business. I was working with this young little girl who loved reading. Her intelligence was out the door, but her behaviors were extreme, and they were using PBIS on her. And I was like, this isn't working. Why do we keep doing this? But I didn't really understand what each system was. So I kind of just went along with it because I was 16. Like, what else was I supposed to do? And so I started getting really interested in the research and all of that. And I kind of would just Google things at like midnight at night while going to sleep. And then I started my career in college, like advocating for children like that and children like myself by joining organizations, working with Special Olympics, all of that. And then my college, my second year, told me I was too autistic to teach, pretty much. They were like, we don't like how you talk. We don't like how you do this. We don't like how you do that. We don't think you're going to be successful in the classroom. Keep in mind, they never saw me teach by this point. They just assumed, based on how I talk to my peers, and I'm very direct and straightforward, that I wouldn't be able to teach. They pretty much just told me, like, you have no chance. They were like, we're going to give you one more year to prove yourself so you can go into the 3 blocks. But throughout that year, I had to make a living, like, because I had planned to do college in 3 years because I had the credits too. And then I was now forced to do 4 in order to do that situation. So I started getting involved with business groups and just writing poetry and doing things like that as a way to release the anger I had from being in that situation. And on top of this, obviously, in order to advocate, you have to get involved in politics. So I interned for Congress at the age of 17. And then I worked on multiple state house campaigns at 17 as well, and 18. And so I was working in politics, I was going to school full time and running a business. And when I was trying to find ways to make a living, I started tutoring kids that had an IEP. And I was also pretty much running around trying to find a teaching job that maybe was a daycare center or something like that. So that's what I did in the summers. And when I was running my business, people were starting to tell me, you need to speak on that story. You need to share your story. You need to tell everyone your story, like my childhood all the way through college. And I was like, meh. And then my third year of college, they sat me down and they were like, we're going to let you into the program, but we still think you need extra communication classes, and we don't like that you don't hang out with your peers after school hours. Again, keep in mind everything I told you I was just doing. I didn't have time to go hang out with my peers. Plus, because I skipped a year of high school and skipped a year of college, I was super young. So I couldn't drink. I couldn't drink until after I graduated. All my peers would go to a bar. They were all bartenders. Well, it was illegal for me to go into a bar. So did I break the law? Like what? And then my campus was a private school, so we weren't allowed to go into dorms with alcohol if we were underage either. Like there were certain dorms that were over 21 dorms, and you weren't allowed in those dorms if you were under 21. And I was a resident assistant, so I had the standard to maintain. So they attacked me on my social communication outside of my own classes, and then told me that they didn't like how I taught. I had all 5-star evals from all of my field experience teachers. And so I was like, okay, now I'm really upset. Like now I was just angry. And I got a call from a company, and they said, we want you to speak on our stage and share your stories. So I gave a 20-minute speech that October on stage. And that day I came back to the school and I said, I'm graduating. You guys don't want me to clinical teach, so I'm graduating a semester early. I'm changing my major, and I will be walking the stage in a week and a half. And then I became a teacher about a year later after going through an alternative program.
So you're just a badass. I mean, like, damn the man, like, I'm gonna do it my way. Like, holy shit, that's amazing. I am blown away. Now, Jake, when she said the word poetry, your body lit up like a Christmas tree. Would you like to ask a question, Jake?
Oh, there's so much in that, because it's like,
yeah, so much, right?
The poetry, there's the politics stuff, there's like the academic stuff, there's the college people stuff, there's the social stuff there.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the poetry in general, but what was it like for you, like dealing with all of that stuff at college? Because it's frustrating as all hell to hear that you're in a program where they're telling you like, oh, we haven't seen you actually do the thing, but we're telling you can't do the thing because we're assuming this about you. And going through like a similar program, different school for education, knowing that we didn't get into the classroom until like our senior year, it's just like throwing all of these wrenches into that, where it's just like, how are they saying this to you? Like, why are they even coming at you like this?
So in Texas, how most colleges work is you have 3 semesters of what they call block. And so it's the last semester of your junior year, and then the first semester of your senior year, and then the second semester of your senior year. So they told me this the first semester of my sophomore year, that they didn't think I could teach. However, by credit hours, I was a first semester junior, so I was applying for those 3 blocks as a first semester sophomore. So they pretty much said that they wanted to give me my full time to grow, and they didn't want me to graduate early because they didn't think I could communicate. One of the things that they attacked me on is, say I was talking about us 3 and we were in a group and we're having a conversation. I would say Jake said, and then I would say Dr. Matt said, and then I would say I said. They wanted me to say we said, even if only you said it. They wanted me to say we said. So even if only I said it, they wanted me to say we said, because it fosters collaboration.
Oh my God.
And so they told me that I was harming people's learning by saying I said, he said, they said, she said, whatever.
I mean, clearly, you look like someone who woke up in the morning and chose violence, right? Like that.
Right? So the funnier part too was we have a very not diverse Christian school here, okay? It's like a very majority white Christian school, which nothing wrong with that. They can do their thing. And then we have other campuses that are not that, right? Including private schools that are majority African American and things like that. They told me that I wasn't culturally accepting or diverse. I want to make it very clear that I am the only teacher that graduated from that school and now teaches in a Title I campus, which means I teach majority African American and Hispanic students. Interestingly enough, all the other ones teach at that private Christian school or teach at a school in the richest neighborhood in San Antonio or in Houston or so I wasn't culturally accepting, but everyone who got into the program was. But I'm the only one who teaches students of a different race than me. Then the social communication outside peers, they could no longer attack me on the we and us because I tried to start doing that, even though it made no sense to me. Because masking is great.
Yeah.
And the communication classes I was supposed to have with them, I asked about constantly, and none of that ever happened. And the social communication, again, I'm still under 21. And I had pictures of my peers, like to show and prove myself that I wasn't breaking like the law, to make sure that I was not getting attacked on something that was out of my control, of them underage drinking. And they were like, yeah, well, we can't control what happens outside of our program. But they were telling me that I needed to have social communication with my peers outside the program. And during a group project, I asked one of my peers about it. And I was like, hey, like, one of the things they've hit me on is communication. And she was like, well, all you do is talk about work. And I was like, well, I'm also the only one here that isn't on scholarship. Like, I am the only one here that does not qualify for financial aid. Of course, I talk about work because work is my 8 to 5. Like, I work an 8 to 5 while going to school full time. And I work a 5 to 11. Like, I have a life. I was doing a work study. I was working on 2 to 3 state house campaigns at a time. I was tutoring full time and I was working at a daycare. What was I supposed to talk about? Oh, and I was a resident assistant.
I mean, come on. Did you sleep?
No,
Not allowed.
but I have no debt.
Y'all, I mean, my sense of justice is so activated right now. I'm like, I need to go and talk to these people. Where's the administrator? Get him on the call. Jake, do this like a bad daytime talk show reveal. Like we're dragging the administrators out.
I'll get them on the phone in like 2 minutes.
Oh my God. And I think this is where we lose so many neurodivergent people, because if you tell me that we're playing checkers, but surprise, we're actually supposed to be playing chess, I'm going to fail because I was playing checkers because you told me we were playing checkers. When I talk to companies, I'm like, listen, you grade people on the written rules really well. You have an employee handbook, you have HR, you do all these things, but it's the unspoken rules that trip up your neurodivergent employees. Like if you tell me like I have to dress nice every day, I can wear my best t-shirt. I can wear my favorite jeans. That looks nice. Oh, that actually means a shirt and tie. So I'm giving you a demerit. I'm fining you on whatever. It's like, then you have to make those things explicit, because I don't think your ability to talk to your coworkers or not has any bearing on whether you're an effective teacher or not.
Yep.
I mean, you might not get invited to all these barbecues or such after work, but like, honestly, and this is where I think, once again, the neurodivergent thing kicks in. We're like, but you didn't hire me to make friends. You hired me to teach people. I am very good at that.
Yep.
Let me continue to do that thing. Like, why do they inconsistently and arbitrarily add in these like extra credit points that you're supposed to be earning? It makes no sense to me.
And I'll tell you, part of the cultural responsiveness thing was I had an accommodation with disability office that I could not drive longer than 30 minutes to a school due to a foot and leg disability, which still affects me today. When I walk too long, or I'm on my feet too long, or I drive too long, my toe all the way to my knee goes completely numb and I can't feel anything from the waist down. Obviously, within 30 minutes of my home, I will say it's more privileged campuses. Even though my current job, my past job that I just left was about 30 minutes from my house and good for me. And that was a Title I campus. They wanted me to travel from my northeast side of town all the way to the southwest side of town. which in my city is about an hour and 45 minutes
What?
to do my field-based experience. I asked, so my accommodations were followed. I needed something within 30-minute range, and they refused it. They found me something within 55 minutes, and so I took that because that's all I could really do and argue for. I was in a pretty rough part of town. However, the other part of town was a lot more rough. And I wasn't culturally responsive because I didn't do that hour and a half drive every day. Again, like an hour and a half drive for someone with that disability. Like, first of all, that's not feasible for a normal person. But also with my disability, like I would have had to pull over every 30 minutes for 15. So think about how long that would have taken me. Like that would have been 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to a school by 6 in the morning.
Literally impossible. Literally impossible.
Literally.
Be waking up at like 4 a.m.
Even earlier to get by 6 a.m., I would have to wake up at around 2:30, 3 a.m.
Then that's that's way too much.
Which I was like, if I have to, I will, but it won't be good for the kids.
Or, you.
Yeah, and like that's something that's always like forgotten and kind of left to the side. At least I've noticed recently, in the past like 5 years or so, is the students and how they handle things. Because it's more of like, oh, we just want you there. We just want the person there. Like less care about how things impact the student, and less care about like, oh, if our teacher can't get there on a good time because they're driving for 3 hours or so, how's that going to impact the teacher? How's that going to end up impacting the students? But like, we don't care about that. We just want the teacher in the classroom. All right, cool. Checkbox, go. Teach the class. Like, have fun.
Yup.
A warm body, check.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so that was my college experience.
I'm sorry for you, for all the people who went through the education program.
Yeah, very sorry. So tell me this. You have experienced the darker, stickier, grosser parts of the system, both from like, obviously from an abuse perspective, but also like just in like the system is not built to work well. It's like, well, yeah, we got you a job. It's an hour 45 minutes away and it doesn't meet your accommodations, but shrug face. So how has your real world experience impacted your message of advocacy? Have you gotten more like pragmatic where it's like do what you can with what you can do? Or is it like burn the system to the ground, I have matches?
I think it's honestly a mix of both because I have that anger and rage in me, and I feel like it ignites when I'm on the stages and stuff. But I also don't want to sound like I want to burn buildings down because I also need to change people's mind, and nobody wants to listen to a screaming rampage. So I feel like I tuck a lot of that in terms of the classroom. Like my students noticed something was different about my room and would constantly beg to go to it because most of my students only worked with me for 30 minutes a day because I was an inclusion teacher. They would notice the differences and they would compliment the differences. But obviously, I never tried to intentionally point them out because I didn't want to signal coworkers.
Wow.
I wanted to highlight something real quick that you mentioned before about like the communication style a little bit and just how frustrating that is to hear, because if anything, you're doing everybody else around you you're teaching them more and helping them become better communicators because you're more intentional about how you're communicating, where it's not saying we for if I said something, or not saying we for like if you said something, because then it's like, okay, but not every single person there said it. So like, if anything, on the reverse, the neurotypical people in that example are like doing a disservice to themselves. And that's just frustrating to hear. I just wanted to throw that out there for you too.
Well, at first when they brought it up in the first meeting, I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. And then they described it to me like the way I just described it to you. And I was like, oh, people do that? Like, I had to go home and I talked to my neurotypical parents and I was like, do y'all do this and that? And they were like, no. I was like, okay. And they both work for the government. And I was like, do y'all do that? Uh, and they were like, no, I've never heard of that. Like, I have yet to meet somebody who's like, yeah, I call us we when I said something. Like, I'm taking credit for what I said. Like, what if I disagree with them? Like, I'm not going to go and be like, we said this when their opinion is trash. Like, no.
Also, like citations, don't we teach that stuff? You don't cite everybody if they're saying the wrong thing.
I just imagine a textbook that has like 25 authors and me just like writing an academic paper and being like, they said, the whole text.
Yeah, nonstop. It's so frustrating.
And just inappropriate. Like, I say this all the time, like, there are so many arbitrary rules out there. And that's something that we really struggle with because it's like, well, we want to understand why the rules exist. But if you can explain to a neurodivergent person why the rule exists, why the thing has to happen, you can get us on board. We'll do it forever. It's like that's the next patch I uploaded in my operating system. It's like, oh, in this town we do it this way. Okay, I can understand where that comes from. I will now do it this way. That's just what we do. But if you can't explain that to me in a way that I can understand, I will never do it. I will die on that hill. I once worked at a bar where our bar manager refused to let us write with clicky top pens. They had to be the twisty top pens. And I was like, but as a waiter, clicky click is better. He's like, it's unprofessional. I'm like, no one who's coming to this steakhouse is going to care about whether I use a clicky click pen. So I would actively walk by and click, 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 click. Because it's like, I'm the best server you have on the floor and I'm one of your best bartenders. You're going to lose me as an employee. You're going to lose Rebecca as a potential rock star teacher because of this arbitrary bullshit. Come on. Are we really still living in this world? Like, did we stumble into the darkest possible timeline? Can we reset the game, please? So as you are forced to deal with all of this bullshittery, and that's a good word I like, how do you help people navigate that? Like, how do you help yourself? What do you tell other people to do?
Well, first of all, anytime I tell them to avoid that school. If they bring up, like, I'm going to go to that school, I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah, like hell.
Second of all, I tell people to escape and go alt cert so they don't have to deal with that. Like, being an alternative certification candidate did not hurt my ability to get a teaching job. I had 84 offers and I hadn't even taken the test yet. So I had 84 teaching jobs and I hadn't even been certified yet. So, like, it's not going to hurt someone to go that route. Like, so much I was told, like, well, if you go alt route and not through the college, like, people won't hire you. Yeah, no, that's not true. Big bullshit fat lie. And I honestly recommend to everybody, like, I did my whole master's degree online, and as a neurodivergent individual, that has been the best decision I ever made. I don't have to look at people, I don't have to pretend to like people. Like, it's great. Like, I look at my professors once and then I can act like they're not there anymore. Like, all I have to do is take a grade. And I have no, like, perceived bias in my head about what they're going to think when I write something. I feel like looking at certain professors in my undergrad, I was like, well, I have to write my and pretend my opinion is this, so I get an A. And like, no matter what it was, right? Like, and I feel like with my master's degree, like, I haven't had to do that. Like, I can be like, I hate this thing, and this thing makes me angry, and I can write about it. And like, there's no perceived internal bias in my head about what they're going to think about it.
I love that, and I want to like elevate that further because I'm also somebody who went to grad school online. I hated the in class like classrooms when I was in school, but being in grad school, doing it online, being able to like just ramble a little bit in some of your like papers and assignments and whatnot, it was like more conducive for me at least because it was more freeform. You could do the assignments like when you wanted. You didn't have to go to like a specific classroom to go for the class period. Everything was more like your own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself like getting even closer to some of the professors and feeling like I was able to express myself more. But that also came with a lot of my peers in the class and a couple of professors thinking that I was like using AI all the time. So I'm curious, have you run into any of that kind of stuff?
No, I've never been accused of using AI. And honestly, I feel like I don't really talk to my professors much. I have like a perceived fear in my head with professors now because of like what happened in my undergrad. Like I look at all professors now as evil, even when they're not and they've done nothing wrong. Like I finished my master's in August and I'm thinking about becoming a community college professor just to like redeem like just kind of like I'm doing with my like trauma with teaching at the K through 12 level. I'm thinking about doing the same at the community college level just because of how much garbage I faced during my time. So I feel like I just don't like I don't really communicate with my professors. I have one who I talk to from time to time, or I'll share, like, if I'm speaking on an education panel or something, like, I'll be like, hey, check this out. Like, recently, the Texas Education Agency chose me to speak on one of their panels. Well, one of their events. Like, I'll be speaking at their Texas Autism Conference this summer. So, like, I'll share things like that. But outside of that, I feel like I just don't have any want to talk to them, which is sad, but I feel like it's just trauma induced.
Absolutely. And what would you say are your best topics as a speaker? Like, because like I think after people hear this episode, they're going to want you to come and share your story and your journey with them. So like, what are the things you feel like you talk best about?
I do a lot of presentations on ABA and PBIS and education, and just talking about how the brain isn't all similar and how we can't use the same system. And then I also do embracing neurodiversity in business and kind of how we need to form our business events, our business planning, and design business in order to create successful businesses or to allow disabled neurodivergent populations to be in the room at business events. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I walk into a business event or a networking event and there's music blaring at like 1,000. And after I heard it once, I was like, I need to talk out about this because every time I walk in here, I feel like I'm about to faint. And so that's one of the things I talk about. And then just the neurodiversity in education with ABA, PBIS, and removing those systems from our schools. That's what I'm speaking about at the TEA conference. But yeah.
With that, can you give us like a highlight of something from those speeches? Sorry about my dog for a second. But something about from those presentations that you wish everyone in the, not just like the world in general, but like in the field, people who want to know anything about neurodiversity, about even like more specifically like autism, PBIS, like anything surrounding all of what you present on.
Yeah. It's not different just because you have a high support needs child, adult with autism. Like, if anything, it's worse for those people than it is for someone with low support needs. I get it. I hear it all the time. Well, my kid is higher support needs than you. And first of all, how can you determine that? Because you looked at me and see me now? Like, okay. Did you completely ignore the part where I didn't speak until I was 5 years old? Or I get the, well, everyone with autism is different. Well, yeah, I know. But these systems, increasingly statistically, no matter where they're at, I have data that shows they harm people. Like the last study I read, 74% of people with autism who were in this one study that went through PBIS systems in school have PTSD. Like, why are we ignoring that stat? And they didn't just look at, they weren't like, we're going to take all of the low support needs people, throw them in a room and attempt to get their research. Like they use people of all over the spectrum.
So it's a great rallying call for all of us to do better.
Mhm.
Things are what they are. We can't change what was, but we can change what we will do. That's something I know that we try and model here every day. So thank you for sharing your story and elevating this message. I always know it's a good podcast guest when I leave you like, God damn it, I don't do enough, even though I spent like 75 minutes reading my CV at the beginning of this episode. Because there's always more to do. All right, Rebecca, you are amazing. And we're so happy we got to talk to you. We're going to slide into asking our wrap-up questions. Jake, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. I'm so curious what your answer is going to be for this one too.
Me too. I'm like, what's it gonna be? All right, I won't spoil it.
What's your favorite word and why?
Oh, damn it.
That's the word?
That's not it.
Okay.
No.
Good answer though.
I think, damn, I don't know.
Top 3.
Okay, that helps. Probably like, even then, I don't know. I feel like my vocabulary is so big. I think, man, I don't know. I don't know what my favorite words are.
Do you have a least favorite word?
I feel like it depends on the interpretation. Because is the least favorite word its description or the way it sounds?
Either.
Yeah.
Because, like, neurotypicals disgust me. So, like, probably one of my least favorite things. I get asked all the time, when are you going to teach general ed? Or are you going to? And I'm like, I don't understand those people. Like, huh? You think I'm going to go teach neurotypical people? But like, I'm good. Like, right now, this next year, I'm teaching what they call a structured learning community, and all the kids have autism. And I'm like, yes.
Let's go.
They're all high support needs. And I'm like, they're like, we're going to give you the hardest kids we have. And I was like, they're going to be the easiest kids you have in a year. But yeah, that's probably that. I know that that's rude to our neurotypicals, but I think moist is the one that I hate the word and the sound. I can't.
Totally fair.
Yeah. It's like, what's the thing they always share around Thanksgiving time? It's like, may your turkey be moist, and have no one use that word to describe it. So that's, yeah, gosh, it's a terrible word. All right. So we got some disliked words. Rebecca, if you could have any superhero on speed dial, who would it be and why?
Ooh, let's see. I don't know. I feel like I would want to make one up.
Go for it.
Yeah.
We did have people make one up before. We got schedule guy before.
Yep. Or if there's like an attribute you want to highlight, there's a pretty decent chance Jake or I know a superhero. Hashtag squirrel girl. We love you, Jerry.
Do I have a large enough ego to call myself a superhero? That's the thing. That's the question.
I mean, you definitely are. For real, for real.
I'm like, I've changed lives.
Isn't that what superheroes do?
Exactly.
You're like Leslie Knope in that episode of Parks and Rec, where it's like, I'm not embarrassed to say I inspire myself, right? You know?
I'm a badass.
You, girl, yes. And we have our title for this episode. I mean, I'm a badass. That's the title. Jake, lock it down.
I love it.
Done.
Boom. Easy. Love it when a plan comes together. Okay. Well, then you are just going to continue being super awesome, and we are happy to be a part of that conversation however we can. Is there anything you'd like to send our audience home with? Any words of wisdom?
And where they can find you.
I end all of my podcasts like this. I always say, don't let people peel your stickers off. I think of all human beings as a Rubik's Cube. And when we try to solve ourselves quickly, we peel the stickers off and we have an easy answer. But it's not always the correct answer. And we didn't take our time to figure us out. So,
Man, that's a great expression. I'm like a little bit dumbfounded over here, and that's awesome. So yes, to all our listeners, let me amplify that for a moment. Don't let anybody peel your stickers off, right? Listen to Rebecca. She's very wise. She's a badass, perhaps at superhero levels. And her her kryptonite is the word moist. So we've learned a lot about her today. But seriously, for all of us here at Nerding Out at Neurodiversity, thank you for sharing your story. You truly are a badass, and we feel like our badass quotient has increased by being around you. And that's good, because as the two whitest dudes in the universe, we need all the street cred we can get. So for everybody out there listening, thank you as always for trusting us with your time. Have a great day, and we'll see you out there.
Take care, everybody.
Nerding Out on Neurodiversity is brought to you by Dr. Matt Zakreski and the team at the Neurodiversity Collective. To learn more about the Neurodiversity Collective or to be a guest on the podcast, please visit our website at www.theneurodiversitycollective.com/podcast. Audio and production by Jake Noonan. Show your support by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and telling your friends about us. Our Instagram and social media handles are at #NoonPodcast, NOON podcast. Your support is appreciated and keeps us going. All discussions presented on this podcast are strictly for informational purposes, awareness, and understanding. The advice presented is not and should not be considered to be therapeutic in nature. If you have any mental health questions, please contact your provider. All rights reserved.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.